have been playing AQW on and off for about 15 years now, probably similar to most of the people watching, and when I logged in recently I saw one thing: King's Echo. King's Echo is a new-ish class. It's not really that new, but it didn't come out that long ago either, and for someone like me who plays AQW on and off, it was pretty new. Most of the time I kind of brush off new classes because I don't really care that much. However, I saw on a lot of people's videos and just kind of like reviews on the class that it was stronger than Void High Lord. Now that had me interested in it because I didn't have Void High Lord and I want a good solo class, although I do have Legion Revenant. So I thought to myself, I will do this grind and see how long it takes. So this will be the King's Echo grind as a returning player in AQW. Okay, there's 4 main requirements you have to do before you can even start grinding. First, you need to be level 80. Second, you need to complete the Rumbling of Cold Thunder Saga. Third, you need to get rank 10 in Good and Sword Haven. And then last, you need Alden's Liberation Armor. So first on the list is I need to hit level 80. Let me log on to AQW right now and hit level 80. I already am level 80, never mind. Next, I need to complete the Rumbling of Cold Thunder Saga. Now, ironically enough, you need to complete another set of quests before you can even start this. So, the first stop was Ashray. That is where I met Tara and had to do some of her quests. I also met some doctors, I think. And then I got to finish Tara's quest and then meet Dr. Caesar and then did some quests for him also. After I did both their quests, I had to kill a sea foam elemental. And in total, I had to do 10 quests at Ashray. So add 10 to the counter. Because I started the grind very late at night, it was already day 2, but I wouldn't let that stop the grind. Next up was the Sunlight Zone, where I had to do more quests. The first part of this video is going to be a quest grind. Anyways, I had to do some other quests for Dr. Song before fighting another boss called the Marine Snow. And altogether that was another 10 quests down in this area and another boss before moving on to the next area. So after 20 quests and 2 bosses, it was time to go down to the Twilight Zone. After arriving, I met a new character called Me. No, not me, Me. Yeah, that's right. And there are actually 11 story quests total in this zone, which is 1 more than the previous. So I got to doing the quests and then moved on to the boss once again. The boss was called the Leviathan. It was actually a pretty sick design, but it wasn't a problem thanks to my Legion Revenant. So that's 11 more quests done and then 1 more boss down. Not too bad. So after dealing with the Twilight Zone, we have to go even further down to the Midnight Zone, assuming we're going deeper, because that's what it means, right? Here we meet our old friend Dr. Caesar, who sends us on some more missions to complete. The area we have 10 quests once again, which is nice, but the whole number is already ruined from the last area, so oh well. Anyways, I had to just finish up these quests and then fight an AI boss, which is very fitting for the times actually. Just trying to shorten this part down since we haven't even started the official grind yet, so I can't let this part drag on too much. So the next location was the Abyssal Zone, which is a scary name, but it was a pretty cool area to be honest. Met up with Dr. Song once again and had to get grinding on the quests. We had to kill some monsters, you know, just the usual adventure quest stuff. And there are also 10 more quests in this area and another boss fight, which is nice to know if you care, I guess. Also, this boss really reminds me of the god of fear and hunger from Funga, and if you know, you know. It's fighting this boss, dealing with the boss, and then it's time to go on further, deeper, I guess. So now we are actually getting closer to the end of this area, so we can actually begin the Cold Thunder Saga. Yeah, we're not even there yet. But here we are at the Trench Observatory. Dr. Song is here once again. I need to help killing things and stuff. I'm pretty sure. Like some turrets and some jellyfish spirits. But once we clear up those quests, we can head to the boss in the area. It's definitely a scary looking boss, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, we challenged Lady Noelle to a duel and sent her to the Shadow Realm. There's 10 more quests done and another boss down, onto the next area. So now we're at Sea Voice. There's only 1 quest here, which is to kill the voice in the sea. This is the first time things get a bit rocky in the grind. So first of all, I swapped to LDK and equipped a scroll of Shadowblade, or multiple I guess, because I thought that would help in the boss. But I literally got smoked within the first minute. At first I thought I was cooked and I was going to need some help. But then I decided to use google.com and find out what the problem was, so I actually learned the fight. So this boss has a certain gimmick to it. Whilst you are fighting the boss, you need to watch out for a certain text prompt that says you will not resist. When you see this text appear, you must use a certain item before you get put into a slumber. The item is called Vigil and is literally purchased from Tara in the room before the boss. So only if I just looked there before the boss, it would have been fine, but I didn't. But yeah, after I got the Vigil, I challenged the voice in C again, and I could beat it. Well, barely beat it, to be honest. And now we can finally start the Cold Thunder saga, which is quite funny. We can finally start the saga that we actually need to do, which is crazy. And it starts at Bale Morale with a quest from Tara, and then we move on to quests from Lord Henry. So that's one quest from Tara, and then 10 from Lord Henry altogether. We just have to fight Queen Victoria and snap her out some weird curse. Next, we had to head to Castle Iblana and meet Felix Taylor. I think it's Castle Iblana. And this is some emo guy. But yeah, there are 10 more quests to do here, and we have to fight the Warden Indradeep. And I came at the right time. And then after defeating the Warden, we have to head to Lowshine. But we have 10 more quests to do here for Kaume. Also, Galanoff the Goat is here. But here we have to fight another Warden called Izil, and then move on again. Next on the list is Now Issei's Grave. Why is there so many hard names? I don't know. And then here we have to do a bunch of quests for the Queen. God save the Queen. You probably couldn't guess the amount we have to do. But yeah, we have to fight some badass chained up dragon who you have to walk over, which is pretty cool. Anyways, next area. Then we ended up at the Hill of Liatara, which is a cool name for a place. We have to do more quests for the Queen, 10 to be precise. And there are actually 2 boss fights in this area, which is different. There's King Duncan and then Warden Alaria. So yeah, we just killed them. And then finally, we're at the last location before the finale to Cold Thunder, and then we can do something else. I know it's taken ages, but it's finally almost time to move on. So here is Castle Geheris. I don't know why there's so many hard names, but it's fine. This is the last zone before the big fight, so come on. Naturally, I sped run the 10 quests because I wanted to get it done, but it was a pretty cool zone with a pretty cool boss. The boss's name was Thundersnow. I'm not too sure what it's supposed to be, but I fought the monster, and then I had to move on to the finale, to the last place, to the winning area, to the big boy. So here we are at the finale of the Cold Thunder saga. It took us over 100 quests to get here. But yeah, this area is pretty darn cool with a big scary monster of death covering the whole freaking map. I think that's supposed to be the monster anyway. But yeah, now it's time to abuse Illusion Revenant and fight. And yeah, I died instantly. So this is another gimmick fight, and it's basically the same as the other fight. You must buy an item from Felix Taylor, equip the item, and then use it when you see a certain text appear on the screen during the fight, which is this guy's rumble. The item is called Benanax Last Will, I think. And then you basically just do the same thing, really. Once we did that, the boss fight wasn't too bad at all. And now we can finally move on to the next requirement. So now I have to reach rank 10 in Reputation for Good and Sword Haven. So first, I was going to do Good. And I'm about to get Mathematical. So I'm sorry. So I used Reddit to help me find the best places to farm, of course, and I found out the best place to farm Good Rep is at Poison Forest. There's one quest in particular you want to grind here. To unlock this quest, you actually need to do the story for this area first, so remember that. I already did it though. But to get from rank 1 0 rep to rank 10, you need a total of 302,500 rep for any faction in the game. Now that's a big number, and the most efficient way of farming Good Reputation is farming this one quest called Loyalty Rewarded, Wounds Solved. This quest gives 1,000 good rep per turn in, which means from rank 0 to rank 10, you do this quest a total of 302 times, which is crazy. Luckily there are methods to help reduce this grind. First of all, server boosts. These can happen on particular days and can be checked on the website at artix.com/calendar. That is a 2 times boost for everyone on that specific day whilst it is active. You can also use your own boost, which you get from things such as daily logins. These also provide a 2 times boost and can stack with the server-wide boost. And then finally, you can use specific items to also boost your rep. These items can range from like 10 to 20% or whatever. I don't know how high it goes. I don't know what the lowest is either, but it's just along those lines. And these can also stack with the other boosts, but cannot stack among themselves. You cannot stack 2 items 25%, 25% and increase. That does not work. It only uses 1 item. But if you have all those 3 boosts active, 2 times, and then a 25% boost, that means you have a 5 times rep boost altogether, meaning you get 5,000 rep per turn in, which only takes 60 quests from rank 1 to rank 10. Now, I'm personally impatient and I didn't want to wait for a server-wide boost, so I just used my own boost, which I got from logging in from time to time, and then using the Cape of Ore for a 25% boost. and that equals to a 2.5 times rep gain, meaning I got 2,500 rep per turn-in, which means it takes 121 turn-ins of the quest Loyalty Rewarded Wound Salve to get from rank 1 to rank 10 good. So what I did, I just grinded the quest, did that a bunch of times, and I managed to get rank 10 good in a slim amount of time. It didn't take that long to do it. I can move on to Swordhaven. So I've already completely yapped enough about reputation and how it works in this game, so I'm just going to make this quick. The best way to reach rank 10 in Swordhaven is first of all by just doing the Swordhaven Chaos storyline. That will take you to around rank 6 in Swordhaven, and it's about 30 quests altogether. Doing this storyline gives us access to the Ultra Alteon fight. By doing this fight we can earn 3000 Swordhaven rep per turn-in, so with a Cape of Aura equipped and a personal boost equipped, that makes it 7500 rep per turn-in fighting Ultra Alteon, which means it only takes around 35 completions of the quest from rank 6 to hit rank 10. So now we have one more thing before we can actually start the real grind, and that's getting the armor. Before you can even farm this armor, you need to do the Boklin storyline, which starts at Boklin Grove, and then 2 other areas you have to complete after that. And when you go to Richard Vaughn in the Boklin Sanctum, you can go to his merge shop and see the armor there. First of all, you need 20 100k gold vouchers, which is around 2 million, which I already had, which is fine. Next, I'll be getting the armor fragments, and you need 20 of those. You get those by killing King Alteon at the /Alteon fight. I don't know the drop chance, but it wasn't too low in my opinion. Next, you need 80 enthralling gem shards, 60 Boklin ornaments, and 100 throne keepers runes. Enthralling gemstones are from the repeatable quest at Boklin Grove after you beat the area. Boklin ornaments are from the repeatable quest at Boklin Castle when you beat the area, and the Throne Keeper runes are from the repeatable quest at Boklin Sanctum when you also beat that area. Farming these 3 items can vary a lot depending on if you're a member or non-member and how lucky you get, so I definitely recommend getting a membership if you don't already to farm this, because it took me ages. Now the last 2 bits you need of this armor are 2 extra armors. The first, you need to get Valen's Knightly Armor, which you can merge at Boklin Castle. This also requires 60 more Boklin ornaments and some gold vouchers, and then some monster's blood. It drops from Defrix at the Ebonslate dungeon with a very low chance. And then after doing all that, you need to merge champion Linara's armor, which requires you to have 80 more enthralling gem shards, some more gold vouchers, and then Victorious's golden scale, which drops from Victorious at /Dark Plane. So that means altogether you need for this armor 36 100k gold vouchers, 160 enthralling gem shards, 120 Boklin ornaments, 100 Throne Keepers runes, 20 King Alteon armor fragments, 1 monster blood, 1 Victorious's golden scale. But yeah, definitely get membership to make the farm much easier, because this took me a while. But with all that merge, we can finally actually start the King's Echo grind, which is crazy, I know. 13 minutes deep into this video and I've only just started actually going for the class. But that just shows how hard the grind is, you know? But first of all, I just had to head down to Termina Temple and talk to Victoria on the right screen by herself there, and there's a quest she has called Familial Blessing, where you just need to talk to Tara to get her blessing before we can start getting King Alteon's gear, which is obviously for the class. So meaning we have to get his blade, his crown, his mace, and armor. But once the quest is complete, which is, you know, you just need to talk to Tara, you can head back to Queen Victoria and then click on the button Father's Gear button and start the first task. So you can do this in any order, I think, but the first thing I did was obviously go for his sword. So here you can just click on Portal, or just do /join Portal. As long as you have done the Familial Blessing quest, you can talk to King Alteon's sword in the ground and start the first quest. This quest is called the Path of the King, which is a pretty badass name to be honest. And the Path of the King required me to endure against different monsters. I had to endure against the Defiler, the Monster King, a Fallen Friend, Chaos, and a Great Dragon. The quest altogether needs 473 kills, which is a lot of kills. This is probably the easiest quest to do though, out of the bunch. Originally, I was going to try to do each objective in order, start with the Defiler, then the Monster King, a Fallen Friend, do it all in order. But I realised I need to make my farming more efficient, rather than just make it look nice, because obviously I want to get it done. So I swapped around areas from time to time to try find where the most players were located, because that will make the fight faster and it will make the farm faster in turn. First of all, I just went straight to Endured against the Monster King. This objective required me to beat Defrix at the Ebonslate dungeon 90 times. So I went there and there was luckily a bunch of players already farming there. No surprise. So I didn't have to worry about trying to solo and the extra amount of time it would take to do that. But yeah, I just sat there and farmed Defrix for a while. was farming for around 20 minutes and I managed to kill Defrix 23 times out of a 90 with the help of others before the lobby became a barren wasteland, not gonna lie. I thought to myself that it wasn't worth trying to solo him and decided to move on to a different boss. That's because it would take too much time, and if I went to a different area, there would be people there and I could farm with them. I know this may be confusing jumping around like this, so I apologize. Next I went to Infernal Arena. This is the location to do Endured against the Defiler. However, when I got there, I noticed I was by myself in the lobby. At first, I just thought the first lobby was full and I should come back later, but that wasn't the case. We go over that later. So I couldn't keep farming Defrix at the Ebon Slate dungeon because no one was there and I didn't want to go by myself because it would take too much time. Apparently the Infernal Arena was full. I know it wasn't full, but I don't find that out till later, sorry guys. And I'm not a member, so I didn't have access to an alternate place you can go to for the Defiler objective part of the quest. We'll also get to that later. So next on the list, I could either go against a Dragon, Chaos, or a Fallen Friend. I decided to just go in order here. So the first objective was the Defiler. The second one was the Monster King, which is Defrix, which we already tried to. The next up on the list was a Fallen Friend. Here you have to fight Sepulture at the /Sepulture battle, and luckily there were plenty of people here already farming, which obviously makes sense, so it made my life much easier. So I just sat here and fought Sepulture for around 20 minutes and managed to kill him 66 times, which is pretty fast, before the lobby became another barren wasteland, which means I had to go. Well, I didn't have to go, but I wanted to go. So I thought it's been some good time now, so maybe I could go back to Defrix and fight him. Originally there was only one other person there, but I was fine with that. But later on more players joined in, and I managed to go from 23 kills to all 90 that I needed in around 20 minutes. So that's one objective completely done, all 90 kills on Defrix for Endured against the Monster King. After I finished that, I tried to head back to Sepulture because I already had 66 kills on him, so I wanted to get it done. And luckily there were more players there once again, so that made my life easier. So I just sat there and farmed him with the other players, and I managed to go from 66 kills to 100 in only like 5 to 10 minutes. So now that's 2 bosses completely done. I also tried to go back to Infernal Arena and was confused while I was in lobby 4. I'm such an idiot. I'll figure this out later, don't worry. I wanted to do it in this order again, so next I went to Chaos. The Chaos requires 113 kills at /Chaos boss, but when I went there, no one was there, so I was just like, I'll save for later. So instead, I went to endure against a Great Dragon, aka Volgrishan, I don't know how to say that name, at Nauise's grave. Luckily, there were plenty of people here farming, so it made my life much easier once again. So I just sat here and farmed for a while. I managed to get 46 out of the 70 kills I needed before everyone once again disappeared. So I changed my head and went for something else. So this is when I went back to the Infernal Arena to do Endured against the Defiler. And I finally realized that this area is a single player map. Now, if you remember, there are a couple of other ways to grind this objective, but I will get to that in a second. So the Infernal Arena is sort of like a challenge boss rush map, where you have to defeat one boss before moving on to the next. And looking at the list, I saw the Defiler was the 14th quest, so I had to beat the previous 13 bosses before I could do that one. So first I had to kill the Infernal Mage, next up was the Infernal Revenger, then it was the Infernal Harbinger, the First Fallen, Fallen Warlord, Malicious Maw, Wicked Rotfinger, Dark Devourex, Corrupt Terror, Infernal Abomination, Twisted Harpy, Infernal Izots, Infernal Krampus, and then finally I was at Destructive Defiler. So this is the place where we could farm Endured against the Defiler, so that's what I did. I needed 100 kills on this big guy, so it was going to take a hot minute for sure. But whilst I farm for a little bit, I'll talk about the other methods you can do if you have a membership. So the 2 other options to farm Endured against the Defiler, first of all is Graveclaw the Defiler. This guy is at /join Shattersword, and you have to be a member to go there. Which means you can skip all these pre-fights you have to do, but not gonna lie, it only took me like 5 to 10 minutes to do all this, so it's not a big deal. Or if you remember, you can also go to Graveclaw the Destroyer at /join Grave Challenge. This guy drops 10 times Endured against the Defiler at a time, which means you only need to beat that boss 10 times to do this part of the objective. But I think that boss is pretty hard though, and probably requires a team, but I don't know because I'm not a member, so I didn't get to see or anything. So maybe check it out if you remember, see what it's saying, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I killed the Defiler only a few times since I decided it would be best to leave this one till last since you have to solo it. So next I went back to Chaos boss to do Endured against the Chaos. Now this objective required the most kills out of all the objectives, which is 113, reference to the 13 Lords of Chaos. I know what you're doing, AQW, I'm pretty smart like that, I'm pretty funny. Yeah, one other person was here, so I was just like, I'll do it. So shout out to them for helping the farm out, even though they were also farming, so I guess we helped each other. And also, sorry guys, you're going to see a lot of loot cluttering the screen because I didn't know about the item thingy that you could have on in the settings, in the advanced settings, that makes life easier for items. And usually whilst I was grinding, I was either watching YouTube or a movie or something, so I never really clicked decline or accept on the loot, and sometimes you would see me just spamming one move because that's when I was like locked in on whatever I was watching, so sorry about that. But you know, we all have to do something. I do have the item setting now on though for future reference, so it's okay. I farmed here for around 30 minutes with the help of one other person, and then another came later on before the lobby went completely dead. The lobby went dead and I had 108 out of 113 kills I needed for this objective, so this is the time I put on my big boy pants and equipped my Yami no Ronin and farmed the last 5 kills all by myself. I know, I'm so strong, I'm so courageous. I did all the last 5 kills by myself using Yami no Ronin. Yeah, crazy, I know. But yeah, I just focused on dodging with Yami no Ronin because I didn't know how hard the boss was, so I just did dodge combo. I managed to get all the 5 kills within like 5-10 minutes, whatever. Yeah, that's all 113 endured against the chaos done. Now we can move on. I then went back to the Infernal Arena for a minute because I wanted to test some classes out on him and see which was like fastest. Put me out at 14 out of 100 before I moved on. I didn't really decide which class was more efficient. I just kept using Legion Revenant because it's OP. But yeah, now I only had to kill the Defiler and endure against the Great Dragon. I only needed 24 more kills for the dragon, so yeah, I went with that. And luckily there were a couple people there, so getting the 24 kills only took like 5 or so minutes. So shout out those people once again. And yeah, you can see I've been jumping around lobbies to try and make farming efficient. More people equals more kills, right? I think. But yeah, big shout out to anyone who was in my lobbies grinding. You helped me out big time with this quest. Thank you very much. But with all the dragon kills done, we can move on. So I had 14 out of 100 Defiler kills, 90 out of 90 Monster King kills, 100 out of 100 Fallen Friend kills, 113 out of 113 Chaos kills, 70 out of 70 Great Dragon kills. So all we had to do was kill that dastardly Defiler 86 times all by myself. But yeah, that's exactly what I did, and it didn't take me very long, so it wasn't that bad, guys. But with all the requirements complete, I can now head back to /join portal, talk to King Alteon's sword dragon thing, and then turn that mother sucker in and get his sick blade. So that's the first quest for King's Echo completed, and it was by far the easiest one to do in my opinion. That doesn't mean it was easy. It took me like 4 or 5 hours of grinding to do it, and most people could probably do it way faster than me, but it was still a tough quest to do, and it was pretty fun. But now we can move on. Alright, we got Alteon's sword, which is all good, and next up is his other weapon, the freaking mace. Now, acquiring the mace is a little bit different to everything else. All you have to do is head to /join castle, walk towards the throne room. You can head onto the right hand screen and there'll be a mace on the wall, and all you have to do is click on the mace and then you can buy it for free. But yeah, just like that, we have his sword and his mace now. So now we have another quest to do, and that's Purify the Crown. To start this quest, you want to head to /join cleric, or you can talk to Victoria at the Termina Temple and then click on the crown button. But yeah, if you just click on the cleric door here, she has an option for Alteon's crown. That's what I did, and then there's a crown quest. And you can probably see the quest only has 3 requirements, which may seem easy, but don't let it fool you. I needed to get 40 Whispers of Chaos, 60 Calcified Tears, and then 13 Traces of Chaos. So that's 113 altogether. Nice little nod to the Chaos story once again. It's a good theme. Yeah, there are 2 methods to collect each item required for this objective on this quest, and you don't need to be a member. There's 2 routes to choose for each objective. So as an example, if I wanted to farm the Whispers of Chaos, I had 2 options. First was the easier option, which is Slugwrath at Dreadhaven, which is not a guaranteed drop, and second is the harder option, but it has a 100% drop rate, and that's the Ultra Dreadhaven General. So this applies to the other objectives as well, so it's just the same kind of thing going on. There's an easier method and then a harder method. The easier method has no guaranteed drop and the harder one does. But yeah, so first I went with the number 1 objective right there, which is Whispers of Chaos, so of course I checked the harder choice first. And then yeah, I just got 1 shot and no one was there, so yeah, I just left. I went to try out the easier option, which is at /join Dreadhaven, and you have to kill some mobs to proceed, and then you can actually meet Slugwrath, some weird looking guy. He only has 55k HP, so it's not bad at all, and he doesn't one-shot you, so a lot easier. I killed him like 4 or 5 times, and I think I got 1 drop, so I was like, I'll come back to this later. And then my brain went with, let's try the Traces of Chaos because it requires the fewest amount of things. So I decided to go the harder option once again. Of course, I want the drop rate. But yeah, doing this is a mistake. There's always people here, but Champion Drakath is not a joke of a fight. If you do not have the perfect team and the perfect setup and everyone's not locked in, you will not win. Yeah, I got obliterated. We tried to kill him like 5 times. It failed every single time, and not gonna lie, I was useless. But moving on from Champion Drakath because he's way too hard. So I've checked the two hardest methods for Whispers and Traces of Chaos, and I've been smoked my bow, so I decided to try my luck for Calcified Tears instead. The first option you can do is head to /join transformation and fight the Queen of Monsters there to farm the tears, but it isn't 100%. So I also need to mention this right now, it's silly to do it this way because you need to do a whole storyline before you can even access that boss fight. So you need to do a whole storyline before you can even do the fight, which isn't even a guaranteed drop, so it's like negative, negative, negative. And obviously I did not do the story, that's just silly, who would do that? But yeah, ignoring that, the better choice for everyone I recommend is just going to Queen Battle, as you don't need to do any story to fight the boss there. You can just go to someone in the lobby there and then fight the boss like that, because for some reason in the other area the boss doesn't show up unless you do the quest, and this boss isn't an ultra like the other two ones, so it was much easier. Plenty of people here, it was much easier, so yeah, I just sat here and farmed. I managed to get all 60 tears in around 20 to 30 minutes, so that was one objective already complete. But yeah, now I wanted my revenge on the Ultra Dread Haven, so I went there, and luckily there were two other people already there ready to fight. I knew it was stupid if I played DPS, so I changed to Stone Crusher and played a support since the others are already playing DPS as well. And the fight itself is not actually too hard as long as you have a few people there, unlike Draketh. Yeah, I just played support with Stone Crusher and I low-key forgot how strong Stone Crusher was. I was doing a lot of damage. The class holds up really well in 2026, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, these guys were awesome. I spent the next 25 minutes just grinding this out with them, and I got all the 40 Whispers I needed. And these guys already finished the objective, but they stayed with me to help me get it all done, so I'm really thankful for that, guys. So shout out to Zolitar and Mujiro, the guy from Demon Slayer. That's 2 objectives down thanks to the help of others, and that's what AQW is all about. Grinding with other players, helping them out. But now all we have to do is get the Traces of Chaos, and I decided I was not going to do Ultra Draketh because it would be a complete waste of time. I went with the easier option that didn't have a guaranteed drop, and that's at Ultra Draketh. Ironic because it's called Ultra Draketh, but it's not the Ultra version. And I guess it is the Ultra version, but not the Ultra version. But yeah, there was tons of players here, so it was pretty nice. It was pretty peaceful, it was pretty chill. I was just spamming skills and watching YouTube grinding. And this method was definitely easy on the brain because I could zone out, watch some YouTube, you know, watch a movie, and not have to worry about my HP or whatnot. But it did take me an hour and 30 minutes to get those 13 traces, which is kind of crazy. And that's why I think this quest is harder than the sword one. Because if you cannot get the guaranteed drops for each objective, then you're going to be sat here for a while, hours. And you're going to get no dopamine because it's going to take ages for you to get anything. And I need dopamine now. But yeah, that's all the requirements done. So we can head back to Cleric and talk to Cleric Dawn. We can turn in the quest for Alteon's crown. Awesome. So now we are on the final quest needed to acquire King's Echo, the King's Armor. That was cringe. But to even access this quest, you must have the Liberation Armor already. That's why you need it. But yeah, you can head to /join the Lima City, and then you gotta go find the armory / blacksmith place. And in there, there'll be a dwarf called Golden. Haha. And you can get the quest from him. Or you can just speak to Victoria at Terminal Temple, she'll just TP you there. But yeah, once I got this quest, it needed us to hunt for different types of gold. First, we needed real gold, like currency gold. So you need 100 500k gold vouchers, which is 50 million. Second, we needed 30 dwarven gold that drops from the dwarves in this area. Third, we needed 75 Atlas gold. This has a 100% drop rate from King Zedek at Atlas Falls. All the other Atlas mobs in the area with a low chance. And then we needed 50 Sky gold. This also has a 100% drop rate from a boss called Queen Iona, and then a lower chance from Sky mobs in a different area also. And then we needed 120 Camlin gold, which drops from a duo boss, which means we only need 60 technically. But yeah, there was no time to waste, only time to grind. First, I decided to take on the Dwarven gold as that required the least amount, and I was already at the location I needed to be. But yeah, I just came to this room and farmed doors here for around 15 minutes. I got all 30 gold I needed, so it was pretty quick, but that's one down already. Next, I went with Camlin gold, as there are no quests or anything required to fight the bosses, and there are plenty of people there. But yeah, so I went there and farmed Bellowner and Slay, and it took me around 30 minutes to get all 120 Camlin gold I needed, so 60 technically. That's 2 done already, with only Atlas gold and Sky gold left, and the real gold I need to farm. So next I went with Atlas gold. Now you can just farm the Atlas mobs in the different Atlas areas, but it's a low chance. And I want to get the 100% drop from King Zedek to make my life easier, I guess. But yeah, I had to do the whole Atlas quest line. That took me a pretty long time to do, but I think it was worth it. It took me longer to do the quest line than it was to get the actual gold. I did the story and then I could farm King Zedek. Luckily a lot of players were already here since King Zedek is a hard boss and soloing him was not likely. And finally all I needed now was Sky gold. Now there were 2 methods to get Sky gold. First, I could choose to try fight this really hard boss with a guaranteed drop, but I had to solo the boss since it was a single player zone, and yes, I'm a wuss, but I still gave it a shot. many times. I tried many times, but if you slip up once against the boss, you just die, so I pretty much gave up. I decided to farm the Sky Calyx at Leotar Hill instead. It was a lower drop rate, but it was much more peaceful. All I needed now was the 50 million real gold. Now, I was currently sat around 15 million gold from just grinding out King's Echo, so that was not too bad, but it wasn't enough. And there are a few different ways you can grind gold typically in AQW, but I did my own research and found out the most consistently talked about method was just farming at 7 circles more. Now, there are other methods as well, like daily and weekly ultras, which I did attempt to do, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I don't have enough time to yap about it, so I'll just talk about the main way I farmed gold over the next couple of days. But yeah, here you can farm these mobs which drop medals and mega medals, and once you have 3 of either of those medals, you can turn them in, and you can turn in 3 normal medals for 3.5k gold, and then 3 mega medals for 6k gold. Now, with a personal gold boost on and a cape of ore equipped, that's 8,750 gold and 15,000 gold per turn in. So let's say it took me around 30 seconds to do both these quests. That would be 23,750 gold every 30 seconds, meaning 47,500 gold a minute, which means 2.85 million every hour. So theoretically, it would take me around 17 hours to go from 0 to 50 million. But that's practically what I did anyway. I spent the next 2 days just grinding gold day and night until I hit 50 million. But now I could finally buy all the gold vouchers I needed, head back to the dwarf at the Lima City, turn in that quest for the King's armor, and now I finally had all the pieces of King Alteon's gear, his sword, his mace, armor, and crown, and there was only one thing left to do. And so with all that done, we can now head back to Queen Victoria. Here I can accept her Echo of the King quest and then turn it in as we have all the required items. And now we can open her special little shop and then get King's Echo. So now I have King's Echo. It took me a whole week to get this class. Way slower than most people have, but you know, I haven't played in a while. I'm rusty, so I think it's alright. But yeah, obviously now I've got to test the class, give it a shot since I got it now. But yeah, first of all, first impressions, skill artwork looks sick. Although a part of me does miss the nostalgic, more basic icons on skills, like Necromancer, I do really like the effort they put into the newer classes. It feels way more thematic, and it's pretty sick, to be honest. I like both. But yeah, I just had to rank up the class, and so I did that Ice Storm Under, and it takes about 5 to 10 minutes with boost, so it's pretty quick. And now I can finally test out the class. First of all, the animations are also sick, especially the nuke. I also saw someone on Reddit talk about how we need a class that has Sepulture's animations in the Alteon versus Sepulture fight, and I completely agree. I used to watch that fight and see Sepulture's animations, like his abilities, were like so cool. Anyways, this class is pretty simple in terms of understanding how it works. The first skill you have is Liberation Mace. I'm not counting your auto attack. This is just a damage attack that also debuffs your opponent. It costs no mana, so you can just spam it off cooldown, no problem. And then your second skill is your main component, Bolt of Authority. It's just an attack that costs 20 mana. It creates a stack that can stack up to 8 times, and it lasts 10 seconds. And it's important for the main DPS of the build. And then the third skill is the King's Shield. This is your survivability. It gives you a nullifying barrier for 2 seconds, which is crazy, and then taunts your opponent for 4 seconds. And then it increases your damage resistance by 50% and heals you over time for 6 seconds, which is really strong. And then the final skill, Korvac, is the nuke ability, where a dragon comes in and strikes the ground. Sick. It always crits and it never misses, based on the amount of stacks you have from your second skill, as well as your missing mana. So the whole premise for this class is spam 2 off cooldown, spam 3 to 8 stacks, as it costs 20 mana. Use 4 when only necessary, since it costs a lot of mana, so don't spam it. And then use 5 when low mana and high stacks for damage. And just repeat that cycle in a fight, and that's just how it works, basically. Pretty cool class, really happy I got it, really strong, really cool. And yeah, that was my journey as a returning player grinding King's Echo, and it took me 7 days to get this class. Now the grind is over.